read all about it. Extra, tune in to see it. Black news is coming to you. When the media tells a story about us, it's a story we cannot trust. Told always from a European point of view. The time to tell our story is overdue. Oh, yeah. Extra, read all about it. Extra, tune in to see black news is coming to you. Extra, read all about it. Extra, tune in to see
Good morning. Welcome to Boston Black News. 351 cities in town, 22 neighbors and counting in the city of Boston, 50 states, 7 continents. We are all over the world here in Codman Square, the historic Codman Square in Dorchester, Massachusetts. We are so excited this morning because I got the BLS family here. The head of school and 3-time Grammy Award, Prince Charles Alexander and Rachel Skerritt. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy. I'm just going to read their bios and we're going to just get right into our conversation. Rachel Skerritt is a Chief Strategy Officer at Attuned Education Partners. She has over 15 years of educational leadership experience with an extensive history of responsive, mission-driven engagement across diverse schools and district contexts. Prior to joining Attuned, Rachel served for 5 years as head of school at Boston Latin, April 23rd, 1635. Remember that year. The nation's first public school, and she and the #1 ranked public high school in Massachusetts. Though there she led a community of 2,400 students and 200 staff through scientific shifts in teaching and learning due to the global pandemic. And she served on a task force appointed by the Boston School Committee to restructure the admissions policy for the city's 3 exam schools in service of greater racial, geographic, and social economic equity. But we're going to talk more about that because these folks just have so much. Charles Alexander, born 1958.
Yeah, I'm old.
Okay, all right.
I'm glad you didn't put my birthday.
Known professionally as Prince Charles Alexander is an American record producer, audio engineer, and professor of music. He received a Grammy for Best Contemporary Soul Gospel Album in 2003. Alexander was born in Boston as a graduate of Boston Latin School. He holds an MS Northeastern and a BA from Brandeis University. Alexander fronted Prince Charles and the City Beat Band and the lead singer and multi-instrumentalist with a focus on the wind synthesizer called the Lyricon.
That's a Lyricon.
Lyricon, okay. You know, where's my glasses? In recordings and in live performance, along with the mentor executive producer Tony Rhodes, Solid Platinum Records. By the way, he is the distinguished graduate of the year, and it was during the pandemic. I was talking to him this past weekend, which was a beautiful weekend, when they unveiled the portrait of the first female and black person. Third female,
first black person.
Yeah.
Third female?
Third female, first black person. Mm-hmm.
First person of color to lead the school. Third woman, though.
Third woman.
Yeah, I get that, but a black woman, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're on Boston Black News. I just want to emphasize that. But in the auditorium with Benjamin Franklin, all those that wrote the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna talk about the owners, but anyway, all the folks that I did not look up to, but now I can look up to Rachel. Welcome to Boston Black News.
Oh, thank you, Ron.
Thank
I'm
you,
gonna
Ron.
start with you, Rachel. I just want to know, how does it feel to be the first black female, black person to be hung amongst those in the auditorium? I remember in 1976 when I went to Boston Latin my first year, I was like, wow, this is, it was nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So how does it feel?
I think I'm still processing, but it was a really beautiful weekend. I think one thing that made it so special was how many alumni across decades came back, especially black alumni, for this moment. We took a great picture on stage. I can't wait to see it. It was about 100 folks on the stage.
I missed that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you know I was calling your name. I was like, where's Ron Bell at? Where's Ron Bell?
I had to get out of there because I had
okay.
another event to go
Oh,
to.
got it.
Dang. Well, we can crop it.
Yeah, we'll superimpose you in there,
Black man
Ron.
right there.
Yeah, we'll get you in there.
We have the technology.
There you go.
So yeah, it feels incredible. And you know, I had said this on Saturday, but that auditorium is really a relic and outdated when the lights are off and no one's in there. But we really bring it to life. The folks in the seats, the diverse group of students who attend the school,
Right.
and that totality of the auditorium, the history and you know, starting in 1635 on, but really it's who's here now that make it the spectacular place that it is, particularly the students. So it was a very special weekend.
Okay. How does it feel, Prince? The Prince has been in this studio a couple of times. He's taught me a few things about being on camera. And 3-time Grammy Award. He didn't bring the Grammy. I don't know. They lock him or something in your house.
No, it's in a little.
But I just wanted to
container.
touch it. I just wanted to touch it. How does it feel to see the first black female in the auditorium? And how does it feel to be the distinguished graduate of the year? Because during COVID, you didn't get your just due, brother. I just want to let you know because
He
when
had
I
a
was-
beautiful movie though.
That-
That,
that-
movie
that
was
movie-
incredible. That was an
it-
incredible.
it was-
Sue Beard, yeah, she did. She
yeah,
did her
Sue
thing on
Bear
that.
and Rich Hawk did a great job.
But it's nothing like being in person.
That's true.
Well, yeah. Well, you know, I teared up when I saw Rachel getting her award because I remember my mother having to go talk to Wilfred L. O'Leary, and you know, me being a 15-year-old young black man in BLS and going through, you know, getting my first C and my first D, and like, oh, ooh, gotta redirect the ship here. And I saw Rachel getting that award, and her portrait is going up in the frieze, and I teared up, man. And the people around me were touching me and
I
like,
seen that.
you're like, oh, and I'm like, just leave me alone. Give me my moment,
Right.
you know. And because I was thinking about mom and the distinguished graduate. Well, first of all, that couldn't have happened without Rachel. The representation matters. I'm going through that with the institution that I'm at right now, trying to tell them, you know, you're a school of music, and music is based on the African diaspora, and we come in here and we don't see a Charlie Parker room, a John Coltrane room, we don't see a Ella Fitzgerald room. Like, you know, I know you want some donations for rooms, but really representation matters. So when Rachel came to the school, I never expected her to have conversations about, you know, bringing somebody like me forward, but the fact that she did it's a blessing, and it shows that when your people are there, they see you.
Right.
You know, you never know, but people are watching you, and you do the right thing, and, you know, let's put ourselves in place. If we're in place, then we can get that representation. If we're not in place, anything can happen.
Right. What's your most memorable moment? If there was just one thing you remember that sticks with you.
During my tenure at BLS,
Yeah.
or I think we always had a tradition of assemblies for the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, but we had to step it up when I started, and we made it an event that every student in the building attended, which means we had to run the assembly 3 times because there's so many students. But we kicked off each of those assemblies with the Black National Anthem, and to see 800 students standing, singing the song from memory because our 7th grade music teachers teach it as part of the curriculum. Just very overwhelming in that auditorium, with the names and the Franklins and all the folks on the wall, and this just amazing multicultural group of students standing up and recognizing that Black history is American history,
Right.
and that they can sing the song and know who wrote it, and know that his brother collaborated with him to write it, and what the occasion was for, and the history. And you just think there are a lot of kids in this country who don't know anything about that, and the feeling of pride that we're able to do that, and students across all identities looking forward to that event as one of their favorite events of the school year. That is always that was my favorite day every
Right.
year.
Right. Well, let me just say this. During the ceremony, the gospel choir just As a multi-platinum recording engineer, working with Boyzman, Babyface, Jodeci, Aretha Franklin, Notorious Big, One More Chance at the Hit Factory. What was your reaction to that? Oh, he's thinking, Professor.
So the fact that the African American tradition, which comes out of the church,
Right.
and then is reflected in our young kids getting up there and singing, is something that I never saw at Boston Latin before, and for it to reside in those halls where you've got all of the people that signed the Declaration of Independence and just all these memories and. Remember the look to the left, look to the right, and somebody won't be here, when you graduate. To see all that resonate in those halls, it truly speaks of Boston Latin coming to terms and looking at itself in the city of Boston in a different light.
Right.
Boston Latin is the #1 school in Massachusetts, but it's like in the top tier across the entire country.
Right.
And to see, us represented in that way, and it harks to what I was talking with Rachel about just before we got on the air, about the spirit of excellence,
Right.
Black excellence. When I look at a picture from, the 40s,
Right.
and homeboy might have been a carpenter, or he might have been a gas operator, but on Saturday night, he was sharp because there was a certain excellence that we had to have in social interaction.
Right.
And that excellence is something that is definitely there. I'm not really sure if my music industry is giving us all of that at the moment, but there are people in place that are really, really, concerned about that excellence. And I think Boston Latin hitting people when they're young, because your 20s, 30s, and 40s are formed in your adolescent years.
Right.
Absolutely.
You become the person that you thought you wanted to be when you're 11, 12, 13. You become that person when you're 40.
Right.
So forming that now and seeing the choir up there, doing songs that I hear in church.
Right.
Yes.
I really felt like it's a come home moment that I'm still trying to process.
Yeah.
Really, because there's a lot going on. And a lot of that is thanks to Rachel. And
Yeah.
I really, really appreciate her for being head of schools and for bringing the change that was needed at Boston Latin School.
Well,
Right.
Prince Charles, the best testament and thanks that you can give is when folks show their support and belief in the school with the utmost investment, and that is that you are a BLS parent.
Yeah. Oh, right. That's
You took okay. Do you want to go ahead?
she went there. She went there.
Yeah, because let me just say this. When I first met you, you said, I'm going to have my twins.
Yeah.
My 2 children are going to Boston.
And I think they were like 1 year old, 2 years old.
And I'm looking at him like, really? Okay. Well, Rachel's here, so maybe it's going to be a great experience.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Well, my wife's from New York, and when she was pregnant, I said, so, our kids are going to go to Boston Latin School, because we knew they were twins. And she was like, what is this Boston Latin School you speak of? I was like, trust me. That's where they're going to go to school. And, she still wanted to have her mind open and look, and we went through different schools and for grammar school, and she eventually, being in Boston and being on some of the school site council meetings, started to realize that maybe this Boston Latin School was something that we'd be interested in. So we worked, and we were in the advanced work, AWC, which is advanced work classes at the Orenberger, and that was called into question about concepts of equity, that many African Americans weren't involved in that program, and I think that program has been dismantled in favor of
Excellence for
excellence
all.
for all. Yeah, excellence for all. And I think that everyone in Boston that works at the school committee is trying to do well for our children. It's just that there's a difference of opinion about what that looks like. But the consistent rock in this city has been Boston Latin School. Right. And if you look to Boston Latin School as that beacon of excellence, and all the 3 exam schools, and so I knew that my children had to go to Boston Latin, and testament to them and to their mom that they were able to get into school, and here we are, and we're in the 8th grade now, so
All right.
we got more to come.
All right. So, Rachel, when you look at Massachusetts, and we had this discussion prior to coming on the air, how do you rate other schools across the country? what is different about Boston, Massachusetts, and Boston Latin School? What makes us so unique and different?
Yeah, there's been a lot of research lately in terms of what is required for true economic and social mobility for students. And Latin has all the ingredients. There's obviously a rigorous curriculum that's aligned to what colleges are looking for. It's endless that alumni come back and say college is easy compared to high school.
Oh yeah, I said
which is not something you hear from college freshmen and sophomores. They're used to the time management. They're used to the workload, to the rigor. But Latin school is so much more than that. Like, there are so few students who just come in, do their work, and leave. I mean, there are 150 extracurriculars, 60 sports, athletics options. There are internships, and that's some of the things that research shows, connecting your studies to career, having opportunities for networking at that age and getting comfortable engaging with people different from you and with older folks. That's just in second nature as part of the Latin School experience, especially with our alumni network and the Latin School Association. And then just feelings of belonging, which is something that we've improved and have worked on since all of us sat in those seats, that we've really tried to think about ways to make students feel a greater sense of belonging and to improve that culture. And just so much opportunities for support, whether it's through the college process, whether it's through any mental health challenges, there's just so much there to wrap our arms around students. And we are just very fortunate to have those resources and that structure and that tradition of excellence, because every school wants the best for their students. I see that in my job now. I travel everywhere from other cities to I work in rural Louisiana, and everybody wants their students to thrive.
Right.
But to get that magic combination, especially for high school, which is a very tricky grade level to get right, it really requires a lot of talent, a lot of work, and Latin School is very blessed to have that.
And speaking of extracurriculars, I would not have the career that I have if it wasn't for Boston Latin School, because the clarinet that they put in my hands when I was 11 years old as a seventh grader was the beginning of my entire career, and I didn't even know that. I was just like doing something on the side.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, hey, I want to be the everyman. I want to do sports, and I want to do music, and I want to do, literature. I want to be really, really like a Renaissance person,
man, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I used to play the cornet and the trumpet and the flugelhorn.
Flugelhorn,
right?
yeah.
What?
And I know, rondell, right? In the band. Because, I grew up in the Salvation Army, so I played in the band. We used to be embarrassed outside, shaking the little kettles and the bells, rondell, right? And I met the general manager of guitar. The store used to be across the street from Berkeley.
Oh, Guitar Center?
Yeah, the Guitar Center.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, I got to buy me a trumpet. Because it's like, you start to think about what groomed you and made you, and music is so important.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. What is the importance of music and how that has shaped your life? Now, you said the clarinet, but...
Well, clarinet led to saxophone, which led to flute, which led to being in bands, which led to listening to records by Kool and the Gang and Earth, Wind and Fire and the Ohio Players and Elton John and so forth and so on, which led to trying to make records like that, which led to making records that were pretty successful, which led to gold records, which led to platinum records, which led to Grammys.
Right.
And it all started with the clarinet.
Wow.
And
You make it sound so easy.
No, it's funny.
Is that all you have to do?
I don't mean to interrupt. When I talked to Rachel, right, she said, make sure you say he was the distinguished graduate of the year. I said, he has so many accolades, he just got another award.
I know.
And I'm like, wait, I don't want too much on the fly. It was a lot on the promo anyway.
But the funny thing about it is I learned a lot about life from instruments, because you pick up the instrument, you have no idea you're a klutz. Nothing's coming out right. And then you have to have discipline.
Right.
You have to have focus. When they put the notes in front of you, it's mathematical subdivision, a whole note, a half note. Anybody that knows music knows whole note, half note, quarter note, eighth note, 16th note, 32nd note, 64th note, and I can go on and on and on and on. So you got math, you got the concept of discipline, you got rigor, you have the cause and effect. If I practice, I will get better. And that actually led to how I approached life.
Right.
And if you have good health, most of the things that you want to achieve, you can achieve. Now, then that gets to, well, what is it that you're trying to actually achieve?
Right.
And I've been around some people that didn't have Boston Latin School, didn't have the rigor, but they knew what they were trying to achieve. I've been around some people that have done amazing things in this world because they had an idea and they did the due diligence to pursue that idea. And that's what musicians do. I think I can be good on this instrument, now let me do the due diligence. Many people are speaking hyperbole to themselves. They are saying to themselves, yes, I can, but I don't feel like doing it right now. And okay, so you will become what you put into whatever it is in your life, in your career, in your home, your family. For me, I see the connection to something as simple as, can I play this instrument well?
Right. Well, Rachel, you had talked about the number of black students that showed up to support you, and I missed the picture. Okay, I missed the picture, but there's so many folks have graduated from Latin. You have Andrea Campbell, you have Ruthie, the city council president. I mean, even the sister who just won was it a Grammy?
Iota Berry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, when you see how we have present ourselves, and I think about declamation.
Yes.
And I had a rough crew. Like, we came in during the affirmative action, right? But I was in affirmative action. I remember Mr. C, when I introduced myself with the Black Alumni, I don't know if you remember this, Black Alumni Advisory Group.
BAC, yeah.
And I said, I came in during the affirmative. He said, well, you're not in affirmative action. The reason why I became your best teacher because I spent time in detention with Mr. C. That's my guy, right? And I wondered why my mom and him wanted to make sure I stayed in Latin, right? He said, Ron, you were one of the higher scores that came into Latin. And so for 40 years, I always thought I came in because we had a big class.
Wow.
But it was a small class that made it through. How does that feel when you see the alumni, the black alumni, to become who they are now?
Oh, it feels incredible. And we all shared that moment when we saw our Distinguished Graduate of the Year 2024, Melvin Miller,
Right.
receive his distinction on Saturday. And what an incredible professional journey he's had. So just yet another example of black alumnus with distinction. But I'm thinking about something you said, Ron, in terms of, and this was true when I was there in the 90s as well, so many students came in and did not finish
Right.
when we were here. Prince Charles, you talked about, used to be look to the left of you, look to the right of you. In Mr. C's day, when Mr. Conampasas was a student, it was 2 of you won't be here.
Right.
And then, it softened, it was 1 of you
One
won't
of
be
you won't
here.
be here.
Right.
And then by the time, in the more modern times after Miss Kelly, I think it was Cornelia Kelly who changed it to look around and support each other along the way. But we have really done that as a school.
Right.
When you look at our rigor next to our retention rate, meaning how many students we keep and graduate, there, all of the exam schools are doing incredibly well with the students who come in. Even when they struggle, we are able to support and make sure that they can complete, which is a point of pride.
Right.
And it's very frustrating when folks name that as a sign that we're not rigorous anymore. There's so much brilliance that comes through the door, and sometimes students were not prepared for the workload, right? But that doesn't mean that with a little support, they can't, rise to the occasion and really thrive. And so I think it's actually a testament to the school's evolution that you don't see students exiting in the numbers that
That's a blessing.
that used to. And of course, there are always students who are like, well, I don't want to take Latin. I don't want to be in a school with a class size of 31.
Right.
You're never going to graduate 100% of folks because folks have choice and there are other options. And so there are students who make other choices. But in terms of the number of students we used to know, that you look to the left, look to the right, we're in the high 90% of students who start with us finishing, and I just think that's something that people don't know.
And Boston Latin School does get critiqued. I think when I was in BLS, it might have been about 7% of color. And around 1998, it gotten up to about 28%. And this was when there was a case where it was a kind of a reverse discrimination case.
Not kinda.
Well, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna be
I
nice.
wasn't here. Yeah, we're trying to keep it nice.
Keep it up.
But there was a reverse discrimination case, and that case won, and the percentage has been plummeting ever since. I don't know where it is right now.
Until the shift in the admissions policy that started during the pandemic, and now we're on our way to being the most diverse school in Boston.
12, 15.
We are over 50% Black, Latinx, and Asian students combined.
50%?
We're over 50%
That's
Black,
good.
Latinx, and Asian
that's
students
amazing.
combined.
I feel like going back to school.
I know, that's amazing.
That is.
Yes, and we're getting close. I think we're at about 30% Black and Latino students combined.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I actually went when I graduated. It was a traumatic time because it was busing, and for 35 years I didn't walk in the doors. And one day I was like, I can change this.
Right.
And it was BLS in my head going, you can change this. The people that were there are no longer there. There were different people there. So go and engage with those people. And that's when I came back. And, over time, I got to see Rachel come in, and I've seen Rachel do her tenure, and now I'm seeing her portrait go up in the hall. I'm so happy that I came back to BLS.
I am not only just happy, I'm proud of you two.
Well,
I really am. I mean, it
We're proud
feels,
of you,
I'm
too.
proud of you.
I'm so happy to be in your company. One of the things that makes Boston Latin so unique is the friendships and the network that stays after you leave. We're going to be having Bishop William Dickinson, who played in the backcourt with me at Boston Latin School.
Okay.
A year older than me, he's out there. And, I had to wear my little suit. I knew you was coming clean, but Dickinson. And you had mentioned Melvin Miller, and in his remarks, he had mentioned how that Georgette Watson and Pastor Bruce Wall was one of the ones who came to him, because I didn't realize the banner did all that. The social mecca, pretty much, as far as community center. I'm going to give you the final words, Madam Head of School Emeritus, to say...
Emerita.
Emerita.
I didn't do well.
Watch your endings, Ronco, class of 81. Watch your endings.
I love it. You can't get away with that for the head of school.
She looked at me like this. Okay. Let me put my head down. Emerita. Okay. I'm afraid to say anything now. Okay. But you have final remarks that you want to talk to our audience and talk about the importance of education, the importance of being a graduate of Latin, and to encourage young people to go there.
I hope that our conversation did a lot of that. Education is the trajectory to amazing life outcomes, and I think we all share that belief. I also want to say that there are brilliant students sitting in every building in Boston, and I think that Latin School should really serve as a proof point for the city. We are very fortunate to have an association that through alumni giving and parent giving, et cetera, are able to really supplement the amazing things that Latin School does. And a lot is often made of that, why does that school have that? And I think it's the wrong question. I think it's why doesn't every high school in Boston have philanthropic support? There are plenty of businesses and, very resource-rich organizations in this city that can invest in schools in the way that Boston Latin has, because every student really deserves the opportunity for a choice-filled life. I hope folks who are listening think about Latin School as a 7th or 9th grade option for their young people. And I also think that there is brilliance in all of our young people, and that we really need to give them what they deserve.
Yes. Well, I'm going to say this. Yeah, just drop the mic. Mr. C, if you're watching, one of the things you said to me the other day was to stay involved. So I'm staying involved, and you see it here. Prince Charles Alexander, Rachel Skerritt, thank you for being on Boston Black News. Come back. Will you come back?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
That's
Yeah,
good.
Thank you.
That's good. Thank you so much. We'll be right back.
tragedies, and God we must trust, and voting is the seed. So now's the time to cast your vote, 'cause voting is our only hope. It's time again to get out and vote. Yes, it's time again to get out and vote. Don't you vote, don't you vote, people. 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 Don't you vote.
It's the 40th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act. Brothers and sisters, it's time to put on your marching shoes. Still marching. We ain't got tired yet. Still marching. Come on. And we have no regrets. Still marching. Still marching. We're gonna get there before too long.
40 years, not too long ago, black people didn't have the right to vote. But they didn't stop trying, they didn't give up hope. Some even died at the end of a Hansman's rope. But soon some people began to fight against what they knew wasn't right. Blacks, Jews, and whites took a stand, and that is when all the marching began.
We ain't got tired.
We ain't got tired,
And we have no
have no regret. 40 years and going strong.
Still marching. We're gonna get there before too long.
Now the first march was in Selma, Alabama. It's a day we'll always remember. On the Edmund Bridge, police stood in the way. It was the beginning of the bloody Sunday. Dr. King knew that we would be attacked, but he said to everyone that we ain't turning back. So we marched holding hands, singing we shall overcome. Then we dodged police and clubs that put us on the run.
We ain't got tired.
We ain't got tired,
And we have no
have no regret. 40 years and going strong.
Still marching. We're gonna get there before too long.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, yeah, come on. Done the vote. Come on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on. Come on. Done the vote. Many people died for the right to vote. That's right. So don't take it for granted, 'cause it ain't no joke. That's right. The battle's still long, but there's still hope. That's right. If you don't take action, it will go up in smoke. It ain't that hard. It won't give you a stroke. That's right. But now it's time to get on the boat. If you don't get out and vote, come on, my brother, it will surely be.
Good morning. We're continuing our Boston Latin School family, and I have one of my best friends, big brother, spiritual leaders of the Massachusetts, if not New England, Bishop William E. Dickinson, class of 1980. This morning, the first half of this broadcast was with Rachel Skerritt, head of school emerita. She corrected my congregating the Latin, right?
right.
Emerita.
Quite a few people that were correcting you on.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay. And then we had our Prince Charles Alexander, 3-time Grammy Award winner and 7-time nominee, and also who have mixed the theme songs of Boston Black News, Dunk the Vote, everything we were playing, what we play here in the studio, Prince Charles Alexander had something to do with. But here is Bishop William E. Dickinson. Happy 35th Pastoral Celebration. I had a great time. Pastor Monty Bino, as he always does. Yeah. He's definitely a spiritual. He's so much like you, but he'll learn to be a little smoother. And he said, okay, I got to make sure I put on my tie. The bishop's coming. Prince Charles gonna have a suit. Because he got to make sure the camera's all set, the lighting. Right. One time, his brother had the nerve to take a half hour to get the cameras ready during the pandemic, and I was like, yo, bro. And then when the final product came out, his looked so good, and I looked like this little. Anyway, man, welcome to Boston Black News once again. You're no stranger here.
Right. Glad to be here.
Yeah. How does it feel, man? 35 years of pastoring, but I know it's longer as far as ministry.
Yeah.
Because see, I was like, wait a second, 35.
It's been over 40 years of ministry, but pastoral ministry, 35 years, and it's just. It in some ways it went by so fast, but in some ways, you look at highs and lows, and you just have to thank God that all the good times outweigh the bad times, you know, and because ministry can be ebbs and flows and fluctuating, vacillating with people's emotions and all this other stuff. So I thank God that I survived. Thus far, anyway.
And I've actually been there, so
I know.
I know
from the very beginning.
From the very beginning, and this has been so great for me, man. With all what's going on in the world,
right?
To go back to Latin, to see all them black students,
right? To
see the black students who've achieved and made accomplishments. Andrea Cammer, Rootsy. You have the sister that just won the Grammy. You got 3-time Grammy Award. First head of school.
Was she there?
No, she wasn't there. Okay. But I'm just thinking
about all the accomplishments of the alumni. Yeah.
And then at your pastoral celebration, to have our teammates,
man. Right.
It was like a family reunion.
I was really moved by that. And just to know, like, okay, Tate came all the way from Atlanta just for that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we had all we need is one more. We had a starting 5, right?
Right.
With 4.
If Paul was there, oh man, that would have been like NBA.
Right. So I glad to see Pastor Neville, and it was interesting his remarks when he was sharing his remarks. I said, wow, it made me laugh, but made me think, like, when leadership is in you, it's in you. It comes out in different ways,
Yeah. Well, I had like fumbled a little bit, right? When I was speaking, I said I was in charge, but I wanted to say, but he was the leader. Steve finished it. He got up and like, no, he was our leader. I said, Nick, you weren't even on the program to speak. So I'm glad the other pastor corrected him. He said, you weren't even on speak, but you spoke the longest, but it was heartwarming.
Yes.
Heartfelt. Just what does it feel like, when you see all these folks, everyone that went to Boston Latin, great public speakers. Because I remember when we were doing declamation.
Yeah, right.
Go ahead.
Right. Yeah, during declamation, you had to learn how to speak publicly. And so any nervousness that you felt, whatever, it just had to just come out in different ways. And I think that the formative years at Boston Latin really helped us to be able to articulate our feelings, be able to articulate our concerns, maybe even articulate well on a job interview and things of that sort, Right. And sometimes when we think about the etymological roots of words, they have a Latin derivative. People like to say, from the Hebrew, from the Greek, but some of them have Latin derivatives, and we had to study Latin, know, and some of it we lost, some of it we didn't, but this, every now and then I'll look at certain old buildings and I would see certain things in Latin and then be able to read certain things. I'm like, wow. I surprised myself,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about when I first got saved, and when we came to the church, we were like, where he get all these words from?
He's talking about me?
Yeah, talking about you. Because I was like, wait a second. You was using all the words, and I started getting my little dictionary. I said, look at Jimmy. But anyway, So playing on the basketball team and, to see Tate, which I didn't play with Tate was there. I was on the JVs, right?
Right.
And he and I was talking.
No, actually, you came on that year. You came on. It was his last year at Lat.
Oh, yeah.
He finished his last year at Cathedral.
Okay. And won
Yeah.
the state championship.
And right.
So
Tate.
Tate.
Yeah.
Tate, as you know, from Mission Hill.
Right. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I didn't
He tells that everywhere he goes, he reminds folk where he's from. From Mission. He said I'm from Boston. More specifically, Mission Hill.
Yeah, because if you notice, Boston's neighborhood pride, right?
Right.
We can be in California. I'm from Mission.
Yep.
You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
You don't say Boston.
Right.
I'm from Mission.
Right.
Because that's how we grew up.
That's right.
Learning the different neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So, what does it mean to you to see a sister, Rachel, to be hung up in the auditorium?
That's I'm kicking myself that I missed it. Sometimes you get distracted doing different things, and I said, I bumped into our former principal, Dr. Michael Contrepassas.
Right.
On yesterday,
Really?
the renaming of the Burke.
I missed it.
In honor of Dr. Al Holland.
Uh-huh.
And so he said, hey, where were you Saturday? I said, I felt like I did something wrong. I had to report to duty, right?
Go to detention.
So he said, when I saw a picture, he said, congratulations on your pastoral anniversary celebration. I saw pictures of you, Ron, Tate, and Steve Neville,
Uh-huh.
And so I said, yeah, it was a nice picture, nice event, and it just warms my heart to see Rachel honored in such a way, because she's not just representing Rachel. She's
Right.
representing all the black students and some of the anguish we went through throughout
Right.
the years. And she represents a breakthrough, in my opinion. And I
Right.
believe the first black person to be put up in the hall. That's actually in the hall.
In the hall?
In the hall. That's amazing. Because you see some of the very crinkly old faces up in there, looking all stoic.
He gonna keep it real. He gonna keep it real. Cause we were trying not to go there.
Yeah, no, looking all stoic. You know what I'm saying? And it did not give you any sense of pride from looking at these pictures up there. But next time I go, when I look up and I see my sister Rachel, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna feel a sense of pride. You do feel a sense of pride when you graduate from Boston Latin.
Right.
Because a lot of folks say, they went to Latin, but you say, did you graduate? That's the key. It was some rigorous academics, but it was a good connection socially with people who were black and of color, and those who appreciated black and of color being there.
Right.
The white students that we were able to socialize with. And so the education and the acceptance of who we are, meant a whole lot. Because at Boston Latin, we sat at a table that it was painted on the poles near the table. I guess it was really water part of the plumbing system.
Right.
But it was red, black, and green.
Right.
And that was a table that the black students proudly sat at for lunch. And we were very much segregated during our time, even though we were in a school that was promoting high academic excellence, we still had that sense of them and us, you know. And so I'm glad to see that breakthrough. Rachel broke through that ceiling,
She
put
kicked
some
down
flavor,
walls.
some flair, put some swag, put some beauty on the wall. That was to us very dry and dull and stoic, to say the least.
So to go from the table, red, black, and green, to see a sister in the auditorium.
Yes.
Look to your left, look to your right.
Yep.
You remember that,
I remember
right?
that.
And, somebody is not going to make it through.
Yep.
And Rachel just shared with me that now people of color make up 50%.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing.
That is amazing.
That's amazing.
So Mr. C and I stay in touch.
Right,
I sent
yeah.
him the photo.
Right.
He is so proud of us.
Right.
Ma Bella would be so proud of you, man.
Oh, and you too.
Thank you. And no, seriously. And my sister sees, he's like, Dad, Jimmy. We used to call him Jimmy, y'all. Jimmy he's doing so good. I was like, yeah, 35 years of pastoral ministry.
In the inner city.
In the city and
In the hood.
beyond. And beyond.
Boston and beyond. Because
I know.
Because we have ministries that spiritually I cover in other parts of the country and the world as well.
Right.
Yeah.
But even in Massachusetts, because of gentrification, we're all over the place.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right.
don't shortchange yourself,
Right.
brother. I know the story.
Right.
And they always talk to me. They say like, "How's Dickinson doing?" You know, I see him on TV. You know what I mean? It just warms my heart to
Right.
see you to be who you are.
Right.
Because I know when we were growing up, we went through some things.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and to be able to look as good as we do.
I know. And think about it. All the players that, the black players in particular, the ones I can remember, you know, all are doing very well for themselves. You know, Steve, he works over at UMass in a high position over there. You know, Pastor Steve Neville.
He's a dean or something.
He's had some high position I think his administrative position.
He was the assistant to Dr. Keith Motley
At one point, yeah.
But I think he's now either a dean or assistant dean.
Yeah,
He's
Dr. Steve Neville.
Doctor
Yeah,
Steve.
yeah. And William Tate, you know, he works for a big multi-billion-dollar firm, and so he's doing.
I got to call him.
He's doing.
Okay, thanks for letting me know that. I did get his phone number. Okay,
He's doing very well.
Get my fundraising list
You
together.
know, hey, you. Everybody knows you in the greater Boston area, even beyond New England, you know, in terms of your activism, you know, civic participation, voter education, all of that. You receive a lot of awards and accommodations and stuff. And so the award you're getting tonight is no surprise. They're
Thank
just
you.
a little late to the party.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I'm proud that you'll be receiving that award from the Common Square CDC, I believe, right?
Yeah, neighborhood development.
Neighborhood development. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's great when you're honored by your own people, you know. And so I'm excited to be a part of celebrating you tonight.
Thank you so much. And you know what's so special about this award? Cynthia Loesch Johnson, who's the president of
Yep, I know her.
She was the one who had a group of young people called Bold Teens. From that great hall
Okay.
where I'm receiving the award tonight
Yeah.
was the birth of the first ever Governor's Statewide Youth Council.
Wow.
And so when I did my thesis at the Kennedy School, Harvard Kennedy School, and I had to take my lunch break, because Doug Rubin was like, "No, you can't do this during job time." So I had to take my lunch break. I had to take my vacation time to be able to do that. And I remember Ani Jean-Jacques, who was my assistant director
Right.
of community affairs. We had to do a paper every week. And I
Oh,
said,
yeah, I remember that
You remember
name.
Ani?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I would give it to Ani. I was like, "I know you're not going to read it, but I just want you to see what we're supposed." But she was doing it anyway.
Right.
But to actually put down the practice in writing
Yeah.
was so special.
Right.
And I have it. They
Yeah.
got a B+ in that
Right.
fellowship, but it
Yeah.
was so good. But what does it make you feel like when you see the folks that are part of the, let me get my congregation, alumnus.
Alumni, yeah.
Okay, I gotta get it right. Rachel corrected me. She gave me that look, that head.
Alumni, plural, alumnus.
Yeah, she
singular.
gave me this look. She's like, "No, emerita." Get it right.
Right,
You
right.
said it was people on the line correcting me. I was like, "Well, I didn't do well in Latin. I probably was sleeping during my Latin class, but I remember words."
You know what's so funny?
What's
We
so
talk about Latin wasn't a subject that we got excited about.
Right.
So one year, I think 10th grade, when we had to do the Catalan orations of Cicero or something like that. It was, and it just didn't stick. So the teacher said, if you don't pass this class, you're not going to be able to play ball. Man, I got a B+ in his class, and that was I don't want to mention his name, but he was very strict. He was very strict, but I was like, "Oh, you know what, man? I don't know. I might end up going to summer school for this class." And he said, "You won't be able to play ball." I said, "What?" I aced it. I just.
Well, I remember, 'cause speaking of it, my Latin school teacher, Mr. Pollock.
That's who it was.
Yeah, okay.
That's who it was.
I would fail the test. He was like, "You're going to take it over." I must have took it about 5 times. And when he left the room, I was like, "I'm going to pass the test." passing this test. And I ain't gonna tell you what I did. But
Don't tell it all.
Don't tell it all.
But he told me once when I did that test, and I got that a B plus. He said, "See, you can do it." I said, in my mind, I know I could do it. That's why I'm here at Boston Latin, but I don't like it.
You don't
and
like
so
it?
I had to discipline. See, the thing, well, we had to learn how to discipline ourselves.
Yeah, man.
That's what it was. I mean, I remember coming home from school the first couple of years of Boston Latin with my bag full of books.
Yeah.
And so guys in the hood, I grew up in the Franklin Hill area, right?
Right.
There's like, hey, what's up, Jimmy? I didn't know you playing football. I said, playing football? They said, where you got the equipment?
Oh,
I said,
books.
equipment, those are books. They said, oh, man, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
So I said, there goes my social life. And so the first, seventh and eighth grade, I was like, I want to transfer. I don't like it. But then I guess the breakthrough came in the ninth grade, and just being a part of the basketball team, and then connecting with the Black Student Union. We had, I believe, developed a camaraderie, and
yeah.
I felt more connected, And I could say one thing: we did have teachers. We had some teachers who were a trip, but we had some teachers who really cared about us. Our headmaster, Dr. Michael Conopassis,
That's
he
right.
cared about us,
That's right.
And some people say, "Oh, he cared about you all because you're all ball players." No, he was consistent. All right,
And
you
still
know,
is.
Mr. Berger in Spanish, and he used to get me when I tried to drift and wasn't focused. Because my mother passed away, I believe, in my sophomore year.
Right.
So he would say, "Remember Mama?" And I was like, "Oh man, why he had to go there?"
Wow.
And then I, end up doing the work because in his class you couldn't speak English; you had to speak Spanish.
Right.
And so it was a good challenge,
I'm glad I
and
didn't take that class.
I should be fluent right now.
Right.
I mean, as far as speaking Spanish, but when I'm not engaged, I lose a lot. And every now and then I'll connect with someone and start speaking and then surprise myself. You know?
Isn't it something how it all comes back? Because I hated Latin, but I understand words, as
That's
you
right.
mentioned, because of Latin.
That's right.
Like how your mind develops from when the time you wasn't interested in being there. Because
Right.
I was trying to get out
Yep.
every year.
Yep.
I tried to get out, and when Mr. C had mentioned, when I introduced myself as a student that came in doing affirmative action, he said the reason why you and your mother and I used to meet and to make sure that you got through, because not only did you not because you came in affirmative action, is because you scored higher than all the students. And I carried that for 40 years.
Wow.
To have that.
Oh, thinking
label.
about that.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I was
Oh.
like, because you're like, oh, you went to Latin. Oh, but you came in doing affirmative.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he said that in the Black Alumni Advisory Committee.
Yeah.
If Prince remembers, when he was at that meet. And I was like, wow. So words matter.
Words do matter.
It
a
does
lot.
matter.
Yeah.
So how does it feel, man? I mean, like, you're in 35 years of ministry. We have 3 minutes left. And I want you to talk to the world, because we're all over the world. What does it mean to graduate from Latin, to go into ministry, and to help people during this time of despair, during the way this world is now? And I ain't gonna talk about the new administration coming in, because we ain't gonna do that today, because I might start crying. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm thankful to God that not only did I graduate Boston Latin, and I went on to college and graduate school, seminary, and all of that. And it was the support of my mother and my father and my siblings, who pushed me to Boston Latin. And I thank God, because the first job I got while I was yet in college was because of a man who was an alum of Boston Latin School. And we talked in the interview. He didn't tell me whether or not I got the job. And I said, am I going to get the job? He said, oh yeah, you got the job. So Boston Latin has a brotherhood, sisterhood throughout the nation and the world, that we still look out for each other regardless of our skin color or ethnicity. And as things have began to evolve, we see more people of color, more blacks, and that helped add to the strength of the camaraderie that they're able to experience now. So I am grateful that I graduated, grateful that I was a part of the Boston Latin School experience, and it helps me when I'm reaching out to people, when I'm ministering to people, when I'm helping to lead leaders and do workshops and speak in different places and converse with others who have similar experiences of going to schools that they were pushed academically. So when I was in the process and in the midst of doing all this, I didn't appreciate it as much, but I certainly appreciate it. And I want you all to encourage your children to soar high academically, because it's going to bless us as a people and bless many throughout the nation and abroad, because we have excellence in our DNA, excellence in our heritage, excellence in who we are as black people. So be proud that God made you who you are, where you are, and you can make a difference. Keep striving, because education is a way to empower yourself to go to a higher level.